Maybe get you those big fingers, sponge in the foam thing.
You're right. Oh, there we are.
There we go.
Okay, so we'll start with the hearing notice and then we'll continue with the discussion. So, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 11, notice is hereby given that the Bolton Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a continuation of public hearing on Monday, November 13, 2017 at 7 p.m. in the Board of Selectmen room of Town Hall, 663 Main Street, Bolton, Mass. to hear and act upon the application of Bolton Cracker Barrel LLC, members Stenio and Denise Tallarita. The applicant is seeking a special permit for property and structure located in Bolton's residential zoning district at 716 to 718 Main Street, identified on Assessors Map 1.0 as parcel 36. The applicant is seeking a special permit to alter the pre-existing non-conforming use from office to retail/office pursuant to section 250-3C of the Code of Town of Bolton. So, at the last hearing date, we went through the application and the discussion on parking, around traffic, and the particular types of uses that we thought the applicant was thinking about using. So we had Erica send the written notes in the decision format to the applicant with some proposed, what we thought was the type of road use, retail use that he inferred or spoke about, where he wasn't able to give an opportunity to have him say, yes, this is what I envision, so we can go from there. So
Erica has the use. I think he spoke directly to her,
okay.
Not to me.
Okay.
Yes, I spoke to Sten over the phone, and he reviewed, so I basically sent him exactly what I had generated and sent to the board. So he reviewed the paragraph that went through the various uses, and he was in complete agreement. He said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for or envisioning for that building. So it sounds like we're on the same page.
And so you also in this added the amount of square feet.
Oh, I just wanted him to confirm because there were varying numbers in the original submission. He had spelled out something a little over 1,200 square feet, and then if you look at the actual square footage for the entire first floor, it's 1,770 square feet. So I just wanted to make sure he wasn't limiting himself. So he agreed with the 1,770.
And even at that, based on the 250-3 about the 100% or 50% guidelines, depending on when that building was constructed, it still would meet those guidelines.
Correct. We're not expanding the area. I mean, this is what the office space is now. It's just keeping that consistent.
Right.
And that actually was done by a floor plan person who measured it inch by inch. So that's 1770. That's where that was generated from.
So at some point, if it was office and or retail, it's still not a potentially significant retail use. I mean, it's very limited, it seems like, for that 1,700 square feet.
Correct. And that 1770 includes closet space and I believe the bathrooms, but I think it's better to leave it somewhat general than to really break it down.
Right.
That includes storage area.
Yeah. Which I think was what Stan was doing originally to get to that 1250.
So do you hear anything else from the butters that were here?
I have not. Not since the last meeting, when I got the email from Hank.
Right.
That was the last input I received.
And certainly, well, the guideline in here first, not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood based on sort of square footage type items. We always try to think about the butters' concerns of what they perceive as might be detrimental to their immediate, impact. Or renters that have potential issues if it were to be totally, a much larger use. I'm not sure.
Could be a lot less club cars than what we had there because
What
But
was that?
when Cole Baker was there, we were constantly there. Many cars going in and out, and I think if it's a shop, no matter what it is, you know, if it becomes a country store, it's gonna be intermittent traffic. And I think people are smart enough not to hit 117 at 5 o'clock to
Right.
come to the store.
There'll be a few.
Yeah, crazy ones, maybe walk, they'll walk from the counter.
Yeah, depending on what type
What type of
of
business.
retail's there, right? They may
Yeah.
have a last minute thing
Yeah.
that they need, or a last minute gift that they may need on some day or so, I don't know, you know. but-
Yeah, but I mean, you know, the uses that he's probably gonna get there, you're right, it's gonna be very, I would think.
As long as you don't sell lottery tickets.
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, that's a giveaway that
Country club
everyone
has
has to
that.
get one, you know, the spinners, you know. But,
There were two different parking layouts that he had submitted. He had submitted an original layout, and then at the last meeting, he had revised it, showing a second entrance. But I believe at the last meeting, we were sort of all in consensus that the original layout was probably a better layout than that revised. But,
I reaffirmed that with him too.
yeah, and I actually did bring that up with
Yeah.
Ben, and he agreed that he preferred the original too.
So the original also, it doesn't add any parking, right? I mean, it just uses what's
I
already
mean,
on site.
basically, yeah.
Isn't that true, or is that?
I believe that's true. It looks like he just takes the existing parking area and sort of identifies, you know, how much parking he potentially, you know, could get for the retail space. Also leaving, you know, parking for the tenants. I think regardless if it's which layout it is, the new owner would still have to spend the money to make sure that there's ADA access to that rear door. I mean, that would be an upgrade they'd have to do regardless.
Yeah, they need a bench on it.
Yeah.
But isn't that already, that's like item 10 here, or?
Yeah, I think he has it in his,
That,
It's only a couple of steps, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
just
so
one.
yeah, it's not gonna take much. of a-
No, it's nothing to do that.
Yes, and I do have that listed in the.
He
in the
can't
money
provide
base.
it in the front, so it has to be the back one.
Yeah, and that's where they park anyway. I mean,
Right.
so is that a, so that's just a finding, that's not a condition?
I think it should be. I guess my point is it should be a condition as
Condition,
well.
right, right.
Even regardless if he says it in his package or not, it
Right.
should be a requirement of the board.
Right, okay, that's what I wanted to be sure that it's in the right spot, or that, you know, so there, so if we were to condition, would be the, potentially the ADA, potentially the,
The access.
The parking, as,
undesignated space.
as
Here's
existing.
the original submission.
Original submission parking. Retail uses substantially similar to like item 5 or finding 5.
Right. And then I would also recommend to the board that they condition something about the lighting, just because the chief of police did bring that up to me. And I know, Eileen, you said that the building does have lighting, but we should just, I think, also condition that, just to make sure that the building does have lighting. See,
There's a switch inside the office that turns on the back light.
So is it for the parking lot or just?
It does the parking lot front and back.
And I think that
And you
chief
just
would
have to
want
switch the lights on.
front and back.
So is that automatic timer type of thing? or is
I
that
don't-
just
I don't know.
One in the back is automatic timer, and the other one in the front is, you just switch it on and off. It's not an automatic timer.
Is there any specific
need
lighting
it in the
requirement
front?
as far as from public safety, or? is it
You just said sufficient lighting,
Oh, okay.
because it's at an intersection.
sufficient
And
lighting, okay.
also just people walking along the sidewalk, just for public safety purposes, to have it lit.
He could put a timer on that front switch.
I was gonna say, the front one, the light's just up in the.
Right in the,
On the roof
yeah.
of the porch.
Yeah, he could put a timer on that, because there's a timer on the other one.
And then because it is in a residential area, I would recommend that you
Low.
probably discuss hours of operation too. That's something that the planning board typically addresses.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously we don't want lights on at 11 o'clock at night if they don't need to be.
Yeah, or like I know on other properties, when, you know, like for the type of lighting,
The downlit,
the
yeah.
downlit
Yep, we can
versus,
certainly
you know,
condition it that way too,
Yeah,
yeah.
downloads.
Efficient downlit.
The tenant on the second floor did not like the outside lighting in the back.
Oh, no.
His bedroom was right there.
I'm sure,
He was
yeah.
complaining. So I think that's why it's off.
Yeah. So hours of operation, what, I mean, if the planning board do they deal with that, or is that something we would
They
just?
do. They do deal with that. It depends on the use, I mean, I guess, have you talked to Stan about hours of operation, what he's envisioning? I mean, I guess it's really up to the board, what you
If
think would be
it's an
reasonable.
office, it's usually 9 to 5. If
Right,
it's a business, it could be 9 to
if
6.
it's more of a country store, it could be later than
Yeah.
that even, it could be 8 o'clock, it could be 9 o'clock, I don't know that. It's really,
I probably wouldn't want to go past 9.
yeah.
Be crazy to go past 9. I mean, how long is the cupboard open? That's open to 10,
It's
right?
over to 10, but by 9 o'clock it's
Nobody's
pretty
there.
quiet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody's there.
When people hear the police cruisers,
Yeah, somebody parked in the parking lot.
And the board could certainly write it up so that way there's a little leniency there. So if an applicant says, oh, I really need to stay open until 9, not 8,
Mhm.
they could come back to you and renegotiate those hours of operation. Because I'm sure Stan wouldn't know anyway because he doesn't
You don't know
know.
what's going
Right.
to.
Yeah, so you could at
Yeah,
least
no.
kind of give some parameter as to what you would like to see. And then if they need something else, they could come, back before you during a regular scheduled meeting, so.
I would think if it was either a store or an office, I mean, 8 to 8 is
Yeah,
pretty much the,
12-hour shift, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that probably is fine, yeah.
All right.
If it's a, yeah, I was just thinking, if it's more of a country store that may sell soft drinks and, well, you can't sell coffee, so I guess
Yeah.
it may be a moot point. I was gonna say 7 AM, but maybe that's
Mhm.
not really applicable for this location then.
Right,
If he was trying to capture that commuting traffic, but.
right.
I don't see a country store open at 7 AM.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
Not
Well,
unless
Whole
they are,
Orchards is open early. so-
yeah,
That's true.
and the cupboard's open, so they have two choices.
Yeah, exactly.
but as far as, right, if they were selling coffee or
That
tea
would-
or some.
that would be more
That would
relevant,
maybe be more
right.
relevant, but, so, I mean, I
They
know
can't sell
Stan
coffee.
mentioned as far as leveraging off of maybe if there were kids playing at the field, or something,
Yeah.
they come over for a soda or snack or
Right.
something that, okay, then they're not there at 6 AM, 7 AM, it's a little later and things like that, so.
I think, yeah, 8 to 8 would be sufficient.
Martha, are there any historical markers that would need to be,
some of the buildings.
is the building already?
Has markers on it.
Yeah, that's one of the-
Well, it has that black and gold sign that gives the history on the
Okay.
porch. I have a question. I wanted to follow up on the lottery keno issue. I think that should be prohibited in the residential area. They keep their signs on 24 hours a day down at the gas station. That's business.
Mhm.
And I don't think that would make it, I mean, there are people who live in the condos at 713, or that is a residential apartment. It was just a thought. I mean, I know I used to complain at the country cupboard because they kept their beer signs on all night, the neon signs.
So would that fall under general lighting, that you wouldn't have something displayed 24 hours, 24/7, or?
We could certainly condition it
I mean,
that
it's just
way.
out of character.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
I understand, right.
Let the only flashing be the caution light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that.
Well,
yeah.
because
I
there's
might want
tenants
to
at
add
one
a
side,
paragraph
there's
that you
tenants
don't
at
have
the
lottery operations, period.
Yeah, so we could condition on prohibiting loud.
No, yeah, we don't want.
You know, I might be speaking out of turn, but I would think any of those signs fall under the sign bylaw.
But it's inside the house, I mean, inside the property? where it's
Doesn't matter.
flashing out? Oh, I don't, because I thought signs
It's
were only
still-
exterior, no?
No, and it actually talks about illuminated signs and flashing signs and all that.
Within the property, but it's exterior.
It's on the property, yeah, but it's still a sign, whether it's inside the building or outside.
Well, I mean, this was years ago when they had a beer sign.
Yeah, I thought you could put like as many,
Set that up.
you know, like the
Yeah.
voter signs, I figured you could put as many inside your property as you want, but.
You probably can inside, but I think, you know, if they're lit and they're on the outside window, which is really the problem, it's just like having a big illuminated sign on the front of the building.
Yeah, and plus they're colored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've actually questioned that myself, so if it's an exterior sign that's on the property, Board of Selectmen has full review of that.
Right.
Because we had a complaint for Classic Pizza, because they have that open sign that blinks, and someone complained about it, and Board of Selectmen had no jurisdiction on it because it was inside the building.
Interior, yeah.
And it's right next to the open sign
So they
that
couldn't do
doesn't
anything
blink.
about it.
They have 3 open signs there, maybe more. But it's good pizza.
I mean, we could,
I think that could be a
we
condition,
could
that
condition
no
it, no
interior signs that are
that are
backlit.
illuminated
Yeah.
24/7 type of thing. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think
if
that's
someone wanted to
completely
challenge
fair.
your opinion, or if they wanted to appeal it, you know. If that's where we end up going, but, you know.
Yeah.
So no, how would that be? No 24/7 interior.
Well, they can have a fake candle that's flickering there, right? That would be
That'd be nice.
historic.
Candles, people have candles in their windows, but I don't know what, so it's signage versus interior signage, illuminated signage.
Are the ceilings in there that molded metal in any of the rooms? No. No, I'm just curious.
We don't have any comments on the fact pattern or procedure history that's in the draft document? No?
This needs to be a unanimous decision.
That's be what, 4?
Yeah. So,
Do you think I should prepare a survey to send, that you could send to him? Who maybe hasn't seen the historic survey of the property? Because,
I assume he has, but yeah, we could.
I mean, it's amazing, because a lot of people just, unless they move into a house, they may think of it, but we try to be open, give it to them, you know.
Yeah.
Be
I
a
mean,
nice
every time
gesture.
I've ever talked to Stan, he seems to understand the history of that building very, very well. But I think you know, I think it's a nice thing to do.
Do you ever mail things to him?
I email
Email.
things all the time. Yeah, I can email it to him. I have the surveys in my office, I'll just pull it and scan it.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think all you have to do is talk to Jack, he knows an awful lot about that building.
I was just thinking,
You've been
it
enlightening us.
talks about the 2 apartments upstairs. I remember one time, some squirrels got into the upstairs, and one of the guys, I won't mention his name because he still lives in Bolton, lived in the apartment upstairs and decided to start shooting them with his .22.
I know who that is. I know who that is. He lives up the street from me.
Shooting them through the ceiling.
That's good. Keep going.
Chief of police wasn't too happy.
And he drives a truck, am I the right person?
I don't know if he drives a truck or not, but he still lives in Bolton. Yeah,
I think if the board's, you know, if you're leaning towards approving it, at the last meeting, we had talked about how the planning board conditions their permits, so that they talk about what's the approved use, what are prohibited uses, and then they add another condition that says, if it's a use that's not detailed in this permit, that they then come back to the board and the board reviews it, and then they tell the applicant, okay, it falls under the special permit. It doesn't, it's prohibited, or you just need a new special permit. So that's something that the board can do as well. And I have an example, I pulled it from another decision from the planning board, so you could look at that.
Add that on.
Can we see that?
Yeah, sure, I can get out.
certainly.
Just pass it around.
We just incorporate by reference and have you.
One or two,
Well, there's two there. Sort of sticky. Oh, so you already crafted that to this potential decision.
I was just kind of throwing some language in there to give you some.
So if we did that, we'd
guide-
have to say 7/16 to 7/18?
Yeah, we could make it more specific to this decision.
I have another question. Since we didn't get the local historic district approved, that was withdrawn at town meeting, do you think that he would want to change any of the fenestration? It has pretty small windows and things, he loves the building, so I was thinking he probably wouldn't want to put in big picture windows, right?
Well, I mean, maybe
He
just
wouldn't,
picture that. He wouldn't, but I
but
don't
who
know.
knows?
Well, I'm just wondering, could that be something that could be reviewed? I mean, because most places, well, for example, 713, they put in the picture window, combined the two windows that were there, and I know at the time, and a butter was a little concerned about that. But, we knew that was going to be a shop right off,
I know during
business.
the original meeting we had, Sten had talked about even possibly doing some type of deed restriction or something, so
For
that,
not changing the
for
building.
not changing the building. So I don't know if that's something he's still interested in doing.
Well, I want to predicate those windows, the original windows are very drafty. And I would think that someone would replace them, to be honest with you. They've replaced the ones in the back, but not the ones in the front.
And the ones in the front are original, correct?
They're all, yeah. So they can replace them as the same size, but,
Yeah, they get them to look just like those, but they'll be
yeah.
tight.
But they'll be tight, that's what they need.
There are things you can do with old windows too, with plexiglass, to get, double pane. I have strong windows, old windows, and plexiglass, so I have triple pane windows. And it didn't mean I had to get brand new windows. And it's very unobtrusive unless someone really went up and noticed.
Because those are big windows if you,
Yeah, the plexiglass comes in pretty big sizes now, compared to what it used to.
Every time I drive by, I say, why did she put that plexiglass in?
I like the idea. I think it's a great idea to use old sash windows.
Yeah.
So looking at the draft that Eric has on this, what's allowed versus prohibited. So the prohibited that we've talked about tonight, so it would be lottery keno operations, right?
Yeah.
Certainly because the water issue, they said it couldn't be a coffee shop, right?
Sale coffee. Yeah.
Coffee shop, I don't know if that's broad enough or too. Did anyone else did we talk about anything else in the past that said it couldn't be?
Well, I know when we had the larger discussion about traffic, we were talking about higher volume type
Right.
of retail uses, so I don't know if we could maybe hit upon that a little bit.
I think Hank mentioned the medical marijuana facility.
Because on the allowed, at least currently, both in the draft decision and on this, summary, it says similar low volume retail use, so what do you recommend we specifically
Well, if
prohibit
there's,
high volume?
not necessarily, because the applicant would have to come back to you,
Right.
and you'd have to review it then anyway,
Yeah.
but if you know for sure you don't want a pharmacy there, or you know for sure that you don't want a a regular convenience store, yeah, I guess those would
We
be
said
two.
CVS was, things like that.
Yeah, I
That's
think
high volume.
that's inherent that they're not gonna go
Yeah.
there,
Right,
but we
yeah.
could at least spell it out just for a
Yeah, it's not big
comfort
enough for
level.
that anyway.
No, it isn't.
or you don't have to call out, you don't have to list prohibited uses, you could just leave it as.
They have to come anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah,
If you
but
don't
I think
wanna go
that
down that
if we
road.
do have, if we've had some discussion that these can't have, you know, it's just might as well put them in.
Right.
At least those two,
To make it
one of
clear.
the coffee board of health said we can't, we basically can't do it. And then,
In restaurant, because they can't prepare
They
food
couldn't-
on
Oh,
site.
and, or, okay, and.
Restaurant,
Restaurant.
Bill Brookings said that.
So those are three for sure.
Yeah, so might as well not have it be ambiguous if we know those three we don't want to have.
Do you want to add pharmacy?
Does that prohibit them from selling pharmaceutical products if they had a general store and they had,
Over, they could sell
Oh,
over the
account,
counter type
yeah.
things, they couldn't have a pharmacist on, where you get prescription drugs, so.
yeah. So that, is that pharmacy would be the general term, the right term?
Well, when I think of a CVS, Walgreens, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's a pharmacy.
They're really all convenience stores now. They're not just pharmacies, they're convenience stores.
It's more that than a drugstore, you're right.
And the gas stations are
Didn't
convenience
you put
stores.
national chain?
Prescription pharmacy, that's a good.
We have to be careful when we talk about chains,
Chains, yeah.
because we then get into a territory of being discriminatory. So we have to be careful on that one.
Right.
Are people familiar with the candy store part of the Wayside Country Store in Sudbury? They have one L, it's just
Yeah.
candy.
Yeah, we used to take the kids up there when. All right, so we have some more meat on the skeleton.
And then I think also too, we can talk about, have a condition about limiting standard language about noise, fumes. That could be one of the conditions. And then I think we should also address the parking. I think that based on the layout he has provided, we should definitely say, something about how at any one time there shouldn't be more than X number of cars parked in that parking lot. Give them a little more, guidance on what they can do there.
So original parking layout.
Is it 9 spots?
He calls out 7.
With number of vehicles not to exceed.
Yeah, there's 7 regular spots, and
And then tenant spots.
So for retail, we say, so with the number of vehicles not to exceed in retail spots, is that 7 vehicles?
Yeah, then the other 2 were for the tenants. He has 2 spots that are marked for tenants.
Uh-huh.
Is it
7
2 or
spots.
3?
Guess it depends on which plan, 'cause we
He had
got,
a
What's the
visitor.
original plan?
He had 3. He had a
Oh.
tenant, visitor, tenant, and then office. That's how it worked.
because I'm looking
Yeah,
at
this
this
one says 3.
There's
Says
3.
original.
Okay, okay.
There was
Yeah,
a
but it
visitor
has-
spot in the middle.
tenant parking here, 1, 2, and then employee parking. Okay, you got 3 there, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9
Altogether.
parking
There's
spaces.
9 parking spaces.
9 retail.
Well, 3
No,
are
3 are designated as
employee.
7 would
Employee.
go with the business.
Right.
And 2 would go to the tenants.
Because I see a third one.
That was the visitor parking he
Okay.
had there.
Okay.
Now, I think he envisioned for staff of the store, I think that's what he was thinking, that whoever was running the business would probably be there in the visitor spot.
So would it be number of vehicles not to exceed 7 in retail space at any one time?
Retail/office.
Retail
Yeah,
space.
keep office in there.
Office space. At any time? Okay.
If they were all Mini Coopers or the smaller cars,
Little Fiats.
Yeah, but then you're,
But we did that, we were all tandem parked there. We had 14 cars there.
Yeah, the problem is with a commercial operation, unlike an office, you can park cars if somebody has to move one, you know.
You can get out, but not a store.
Not a store.
And if someone were to go in and say, well, this is causing a problem, they could come back, I'm sure, right, and say, oh, we have a better plan to do X, Y, and Z.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
They can also park on Main Street.
Right,
If you've got
sure,
more.
yeah. Mhm. Okay, so let's do a quick summary of conditions, just so that. So we have a condition that, proposed condition that ADA accessible entrance will be provided at the rear of the building, correct? Yep. The original, sufficient lighting to ensure public safety, sufficient downlit lighting to ensure public safety. Hours of operation between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Prohibit lottery type operations, no 24/7 interior illuminated signage. Original parking layout with number of vehicles not to exceed 7 vehicles in the retail office space. And use the existing parking layout. Are there any others?
Oh, yeah, also talking about the hours of operation.
Yep, you said hours of
Or did you
operation.
say that? Okay,
Mhm.
sorry. All right.
What about banners and flags and things?
If it's an exterior sign, it becomes a temporary sign and the board of selectmen deal with that, so.
That's the way they handle it now, you know. I mean, if you want one for Lily, you gotta go ask the
Right, you gotta go
selectmen.
on, so.
Okay. And we have for allowed uses, again, low use retail such as country, convenience store, especially gift shop, antique store. Although that list on.
It's more expensive. I
At
can
least-
update that.
Yeah,
one.
right, we don't, I guess it'd be consistent with item 5.
I'll make it consistent with that one.
And then we, the prohibited retail uses shall include lottery, keying operations, coffee shop, prescription pharmacy, and restaurant.
And then there would probably be a condition that's generic about no obtrusive, offensive noise. Fumed.
No obtrusive. That's it. Noise.
Sorry, I have a generic
Yeah.
condition that I add to the planning board.
Okay.
I
No
can-
jet engine repairs. So,
And motorcycle inspection.
Yeah.
Now, what if somebody wanted to have a pet shop? And you think, yeah, pet shop's nice, and I would enjoy having pet stores down at my end of town. And, you know, dogs are getting into really
I mentioned that to Stan.
things, you know, would that be something that would be maybe controlled? I mean, there could be some barking or something, but I think it would be cute, but might not be good for that particular
disposal of
corner.
waste might be an issue with a tight tank.
Yeah.
Well, true, but
I guess that would be, if something, the board could come back and say, okay, now we wanna.
We're selling fish.
Do you mean, yeah,
Or cat, you know, you do see things crop up where people do have a cat store. or
well,
cat-
wouldn't they
it's a
have to
pet store,
have
but-
running water, wouldn't they have to have hot and cold running water in order to?
The grooming will bathe them or.
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
well, I'm not thinking of
Like
grooming, I'm just
health
thinking
code?
of, you know, special products.
Oh.
I mean, they get into,
Pet food and.
yeah.
All kinds of.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Supplies, pet supplies.
Supplies.
A pet boutique.
Right,
Well,
gerbils.
if there's no use, I guess that would be convenience, you know, or retail convenience, but, or.
That's such a big
And
business.
if that's a use of the board, it's up to you, I mean, they
That's
can
such a
come
big
back and
business.
have you review it, or you could add a pet supply store to that list.
I do, it's a fortune.
Yeah. I think, well, I would, at least my opinion, that's sort of inconsistent, at least with what, again, this is the applicant sort of said,
Sure,
this is
sure.
what I,
Yeah, that's a
that
good
they're looking to get some type of opinion on, so
Yeah.
I would say let them broaden it
Yes,
and
okay.
come back to the
I
board.
mean, even if it was something like that,
Right.
it is.
We can't think of every scenario.
Yeah, you can't think of every scenario, but like you said, like there's a, pet supply store, I mean, the one that's at the country cupboard store there, there's hardly anybody ever in there, it's kind of like, it's
They're
almost like,
hanging on though, I think they have enough business, they have a lot of
yeah,
stuff
well,
in
they
there.
sell very expensive stuff, but
And they're a chain.
there's never more than, one or two people there at a time, so, it's not like it's. a
They
big
can go
warm
right
But it
place.
is a good convenience, I mean, I use it as a last, I have 4 pets and I generally will go to a place where it's, that the price is gonna be a little cheaper, but last minute, you say,
Yeah, you wanted to get something, yeah.
It may be open and you can't get up to Hudson or down to, so.
You know, they have good hours.
So they do have decent hours, so it is convenient, but yes, when I go, I know, okay, but that can of cat food's gonna be 20% higher than if I took the time and went somewhere else, but.
All I know is I went in there once to buy dog food, and I was in shock.
Those are all specialty dog foods and things too.
Well, my
you know,
dog
they-
wasn't specialty. He wasn't gonna eat better than me.
Okay.
When it
So-
comes to the lighting requirement, would the board be amenable to the idea that it be in compliance or approved by the police chief? So that way I'm just thinking, if they were to do something and then he comes back to me and says, hey, look, that intersection's not lit enough, they need to do more, I just want there to be a little more teeth there for him, for me to say to the applicant, okay, look, the police chief's weighed in, you need to do some additional lighting.
Sure.
Almost goes two ways with that too. I mean, somebody could almost overdo it, it would be
Sure.
a problem there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or as reviewed by the chief of police or something like that.
And then Alice is gonna be complaining. So-
Well, downlit, so it doesn't spill.
So I would say, conditions sufficient downlit lighting to ensure public safety in conjunction with review by police or public safety.
By police. If necessary, something like that.
By police department as. So, do we have any other input from the audience? No? Any questions? No, so we should probably motion to close the public hearing portion?
I will make the motion to close public hearing.
A second.
So all in favor of closing the public hearing portion, say aye?
Right?
Okay. So that piece is done.
You don't have to though, unless they have a special session, right?
So, I think we have this pretty good draft of procedure, facts and circumstances, proposed conditions, allowed uses, and prohibited uses. If we were to motion to grant the applicant do we have to restate all these conditions, or will we just allow you to draft them up as?
Yeah, you can just say in your motion something about conditioned as deliberated during the meeting,
Okay.
and I'll just incorporate all of your comments.
Okay. That makes it easier than trying to figure out. So when I look at, just from my perspective, I look at the definition of whether it be, again, extend more, not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, given the footprint and what they're not expanding or not, we can certainly, I think, could pass that test. And I think
Disagree.
Well, that's okay, yeah, so I think it could pass that test if we can.
If you're only talking about changing in area, then definitely, but I don't think that that's
Yeah.
an all-inclusive definition of,
Oh, no, I don't, it's a guidance, it's right, it's one of the guidance, and they say, well, you want to be particularly conscious of the butters or the neighbors that have come in and expressed concern, so, so if we were, again, we can either vote to approve it or vote to deny. If we vote to approve it, I think, with the conditions, I think we're really trying to address the concerns that were expressed by butters or whatnot, so, but that doesn't mean it will carry everyone's decision on that, so that's just my thought on it. And so, and certainly opposing view is good. I mean,
yeah, I took some notes. I still feel basically the same way I felt before. I feel that given the location at the intersection of two well-traveled streets, the orientation of the building and the parking area, I just don't think it's conducive to retail usage. And I think there are, again, traffic and safety concerns that could mean that there's potential for it to be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing usage. As you mentioned, there were documented abutter concerns, and we tend to take those pretty seriously. And then my final concern, I'm not sure if it's relevant to this, but I still have the trouble. I believe the impetus for the change is to enhance the resale value of the property and not for any current owner in the town to develop their property. So that just troubles me. But even that aside, I think I would say no to the proposal.
any other comments from other board members, or?
Well, my only view on this is it's not an ideal situation, but the choice is basically to abandon the building or to find some other use for it, so I think, I look at it as probably not the greatest choice, and hopefully it will become a limited choice in its application, but I think it's an important part of the town center, and I'm willing to take a chance on future use of it. But, if it becomes really horrible, then I think we have to revisit it again.
Well, I think, we have that caveat in there that
Right.
If
If something outrageous or something really doesn't work, then I think we've got to be able to go back to it again. But that's my view. I'm not in love with the parking situation, but, it's been used. There was a video store in there for a while back in the 80s, and they had some traffic going in and out of the place. Eventually they moved out, of course the traffic in town was a lot lighter than it is now.
Different.
So,
I think I agree with Brad. I mean, I don't think it's a great situation. Hopefully somebody comes along and finds niche believe it or not.
There's other industry there.
But yeah, something that'll fit and work there so that, you know, my biggest concern with the building, to be very honest, is, and I mentioned it before, is especially an old building, like, once you let it start to sit for a couple of years, they start to deteriorate really fast. It's been empty almost 2 years now, you know, and it's not, I can't see somebody converting the first floor into rental space for residences. I mean, it could, if you couldn't, if they may have to do that if they can't find somebody else to occupy it, but, and I guess, you know, I feel the same as, you know, it's been used primarily as retail space for years. It hasn't been lately, I know, because of the office in there. It's not the greatest location, but I just would like to see something go in there that would survive so they can keep the place up. So.
Yeah, I mean, that it's a tough corner. I mean, it's a terrible corner. And the parking, I just don't see how those 3 people are gonna be parked in the back and be able to get in and out. At the same time, you know, to the point, you know, loosening things up a little bit to get somebody in there, I think that we have, you know, constraints on it, and people are gonna keep an eye on it, and I think we're kind of doing the best we can under the circumstances. You know, and it's not an ideal situation, but this is just one of those things where, you know, we have to kind of walk a fine line and, you know, kind of do what we can and hope for the best. And, I mean, who knows? I mean, a lot of, you know, some businesses, you know, different business models, they may have a retail element, but they're not like heavy retail. You know, it's, you know, things are changing, so. And I can't imagine somebody who wants to have a lot of traffic is gonna even go into that place.
Right.
Because it's impossible. And like in rush hour, you can't have people in and out of there all the time. It's gonna be terrible for the business. So who in their right mind would really sign up to, oh yes, I'll put my, you know, convenience store here, because no one can get to it between 7 and 9 in the morning and between, you know, 4 and 7 at night, you know, so.
I mean, I look at it a little bit like what's across the street, in some
Right.
respect, the lighting, with some of the things that have gone into that little corner building. Nothing really has gone in that's high impact, and, you know, the parking's tight. If you went in to get a lamp or a shade or something in there, and you have to be careful, but I don't see it blossoming into a use that, I mean, yes, the traffic is a nightmare on 117, so.
I remember Whistle's shop. I mean, he did some business in there, but it wasn't huge amounts of traffic, but he,
What's that?
you know, where the 2 buildings across the street, one, the red one that's got the,
Yeah.
that used to be an antique
Post
shop.
office?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Junk.
I was being,
I was gonna say, it wasn't really antiques, yeah.
Hey, I bought something there years ago, yeah. Still have it, yeah.
so I mean, I remember the impact wasn't huge, and people park out in front of it, didn't create much of a problem there, so I don't know. I just,
So, I mean, I think the parking situation there is even worse than probably what it is.
well, there's no
I
place to
remember
park.
trying to back out of there when I bought this, I bought a chair or something, trying to back out of there. And this was like a good, you know, like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the day, it wasn't even during rush hour.
I think the board, you know, if you liked this idea, you could expand upon the parking condition to say something to the effect of, you know, if parking becomes a public safety concern or hazard, the board reserves the right to rescind the special permit. So that way it gives you authority to come back to it in the future if there's an accident, or if, you know, the police come to us and say, look, this is not working out. They're really causing a lot of congestion in that intersection, or whatever it may be. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad thought, because we've already tried to condition it on original parking, limited number of vehicles at any one time, so.
So we're envisioning that this use is gonna sort of just
Fit that, but if it.
fit that, but if it doesn't, it's something more than we all anticipate, then
Right.
we have a
Provision that
leverage
have it
there.
come back to the board for review. and that helps tighten the exposure as far as, some of the concerns, but whether it tips the scales or not. So, I guess we all have our little say. I mean, not that, they're all good points. I think that's a lot of thought have been put into this for such a small, one little building that, so. Does anyone have an opinion on which way motion on?
I can make a motion, yeah. I would make a motion that we grant a variance
Grant the special permit?
to the special permit that would allow limited retail operations subject to the conditions that are outlined in the decision.
And discussed that during deliberations?
During deliberation, correct.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. So all in favor of the motion to grant the special permit with the conditions and limitations per the deliberations tonight? Say aye.
Aye.
All, any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. So we have one opposed, 4 ayes.
Okay, so moving forward, I'll take all your comments into deliberation, draft the decision. Something that the planning board's been doing a little bit differently, rather than have the chair sign, what I've been doing is just presenting just a generic form that the board can sign the evening that they make their decision, and then contingent upon the fact that I write the decision, so the board will review and approve it. But that way, it's just, you guys don't have to come and sign it, or you don't have to come in and sign it, so. I didn't know which way you were going, so I did a deny and a grant, so here's the grant.
You're very efficient.
It just makes it easier.
I can leave, can I?
You can stand now.
Good night.
So on this, there's 5 spots, so...
So one will be blank.
Oh, you leave one blank. Oh,
Yeah,
this is
we'll just leave
yea
it
and
blank,
nay.
yeah.
Okay.
Now, is this really a unanimous decision? Because 4 out of 5 isn't.
No, she's gonna change the wording then.
Yeah, okay.
It's a, what is that, supermajority, I guess, that needs to be?
I was just wondering, I know we have to have 4 out of 5 on a variance. This is special permit.
It's 4 out of 5.
So 4 out of 5?
4 out of 5, yeah. There's 3 copies
We
in there.
just signed
so
it.
I don't
3
like
copies.
that.
Never mind.
I can.
Is that a purple pen?
Yeah. Doesn't matter?
Well, there's a blue one. It doesn't really matter, but it looks a little more official with the blue.
Oh, what a shame. Purple's not... So should I re-sign the ones?
Yeah, I got that.
There you go. You have 3. Yeah.
Official pen.
It was in the coffee mug tonight when I left home. It looked like it was writing.
And you know what? I think I write that up.
On the pen?
Okay, I didn't say anything about it being unanimous vote. Okay, good.
Yes, down to the...
Thanks.
Doesn't he have to sign even though he didn't vote
The
for
way
it?
she has it written, it says the following members vote to grant.
Okay, so you don't have to do it that way.
That's what I said. If we had all, then one have to just say no.
I was gonna say, I did one recently, in another town, they voted and they signed it as person.
That'll be in the next meeting, anyway.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
I think it's done. There's so many different ways that you can do it. I actually got that form from town council on a special permit I had him weigh in on for planning board, and I was like, oh, this is so generic, this makes it really easy. So it did come from town council, so I didn't just make it up.
Right, well, that's good. We trust you. Okay, so then we had no business, and I guess we have one administrative item to,
Just to schedule the next meeting. I know that Kay and Brad both filled out the Google doodle poll, but I haven't heard from everyone, so I thought if you guys know your schedule
I
now, we
did
can...
too. Yeah, I did too.
what
Oh, you did?
What was the
Has
date?
everyone filled
did
it
you
out?
have?
I don't know.
I just gave it
Oh, does anyone-
like a month.
Oh,
Okay, then I'll just go back to the doodle poll. I'm sorry, I thought only a couple people had.
I know, I signed for that.
so if there's a common date in there, I mean, I don't, I.
Early December's better than late December.
Yeah, of
Right,
course.
right, yeah, so, I don't have any travel plans or whatever, so as long as it's a 7 PM meeting,
Okay,
if there's a majority already amongst them, just pen me in, email
Okay.
me.
okay, I'll email you tomorrow. I'll look at it and
Mhm.
email you tomorrow,
Yeah.
and then I'll confirm
Right.
Wednesday
Mhm.
with everyone.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Correct, so, motion to close,
Make a motion to adjourn.
all right. I'll
Second.
Second, all right. So all in favor of the motion to adjourn?
I
All right, 7:57. Motion.